This is a little bit different than we've done in the past, but my name is Reverend David Brown of Wharton-West United Methodist Church, and also I'm a professor at Temple University and a proud volunteer supporter of the MLK Day of Service. We're here to talk about and announce what our Day of Service is going to look like. Obviously, usually we're gathered here with a whole bunch of folks. Here we're just in front of our cameras and our friends from the media to announce and talk about what our King Day of Service is. However, we think this is a very historic day, of course, recognizing that the King legacy itself is continuing, recognizing what has happened last night in Georgia, and being able to continue the legacy of King and the fight for freedom and justice. We've got a full agenda that we're going to make sure that we can get to and get through. And we're going to try to, as best we can, coordinate between both live, Zoom, as well as some taped remarks by our folks who are going to be joining us today. So I want to thank you all again for coming out today, and also congratulate the MLK and the Global Citizen for finding ways and creative ways to maintain a continuity of service as our tradition continues. So at this time, what I'd like to do is introduce our gracious host, Dr. Heather Wappington, who is the co-chair of the King Day of Service and president of Girard College. And Girard College has been our signature service site for some time. And of course, being able to continue that legacy is also something that we are very, very proud of and very grateful for. So at this time, and we'll see how this goes, we'll now switch over to Dr. Wappington's remarks.
Hi, I'm Dr. Heather Wathington, president of Girard College. All of us here at Girard are proud to continue our partnership with Global Citizen as we host the 26th annual Martin Luther King Day of Service on January 18th. While this year's event will look a little different, I cannot think of a more important activity than offering testing to those who have been hit hardest by the coronavirus pandemic. Here at Girard College, we work with vulnerable students and families every day and see firsthand the challenges faced by people of color when it comes to accessing quality health care. The current crisis has only magnified the racial and social injustice that impacts countless communities across our nation. We now have hope that new vaccines can alleviate the virus, but there's no vaccine for injustice. Girard College has been an institution of social change since its founding, providing resources and opportunities to students from underserved communities. Our academic and residential programs help students grow intellectually, socially, and emotionally, all with an eye to working for justice in the world. As Dr. King said, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. We have seen this year that there is growing momentum to enact meaningful change in our country, with movements like Black Lives Matter and record voter turnout in the election. Our students also continue to make their voices heard through partnerships with wonderful organizations like Mayoral Arts and the World Affairs Council. I'm grateful that Global Citizen and all of our partners continue to do the hard work of fighting injustice, even in the most challenging of circumstances. We have seen heroes rise up everywhere this year, from doctors and nurses to grocery store workers. Here at Girard, our staff has worked tirelessly to make sure we can meet our students' needs, from making classrooms safe for in-person learning to providing school supplies and meals for students learning at home. I am so inspired by their commitment to make a difference in the lives of our students. This is not the first time the Girard community has fought through a public health crisis. Our benefactor, Stephen Girard, was instrumental in organizing Philadelphia's response to yellow fever in 1793, and in the years following the 1918 flu pandemic, Girard College became home to many students who lost their fathers to the disease. We know that we will get through this current challenge because our community continues to demonstrate their support with courage and compassion. So again, it's an honor to stand beside Todd Bernstein, Global Citizen, and all of their partner organizations as we work together to honor Dr. King's legacy and build a more just, safe, and healthy future for us all. Thank you, and hail Girard.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wathington, and thank you again for being our gracious host as we continue the legacy. And as Dr. Wathington said, it's significant that every connection that we have in terms of the King legacy weaves its way through everything we're going to talk about this morning And certainly Girard College has had a place in the history and legacy of Dr. King, as this was a site of protest at some time, which has now been transformed into a place of being able to provide the education and service now for the King Day of Service. So we're very, very, again, grateful for this longstanding relationship that we continue to enjoy. Also, as Dr. Weatherton mentioned in her remarks, the reason why we're here is because of the legacy that Dr. King has left for all of us. However, there's always going to be someone behind the scenes who will always kind of keep pushing the movement forward. And that person for many, many years has been Todd Bernstein. Todd is the president of Global Citizen and the founder and director of the Greater Philadelphia Martin Luther King Day of Service. He is someone who quietly but tirelessly works for maintaining this legacy of services that we now enjoy. And even during this time of pandemic and being creative about how to provide service safely, we are still very much grateful for the work that he continues to do as we move and continue the legacy of the King Day of Service. So without any further ado, let me introduce my friend and colleague, Todd Bernstein.
Thank you, my friend and brother, David Brown. This is a year like no other, that's for sure. Thank you for joining us today. Those of us who are in person here at Girard College, I'm going to take this off for the moment because otherwise I won't be able to see. Someone's got to come up with a face mask where it doesn't fog up your glasses, but I will put this on as soon as I'm done. Heather Waddington, thank you so much for being such a wonderful host here at Girard College for the 12th year. Thank you to our co-chairs and sponsors, many sponsors, great sponsors throughout the community who make this event possible. To my friends and colleagues at Global Citizen who have a great passion for this work of civic engagement, work tirelessly on the King Day of Service. This day on January 18th, 12 days from now, will be unlike anything we've ever seen in the last 25 years of the King Day of Service. Dr. King said in 1966, of all the forms of inequality, injustice in health is the most shocking and inhuman. And with nearly 360,000 deaths in the United States from COVID-19, 21 million cases of positive testing for COVID. 50 years later, after King said that in 1966, this health crisis has awoken us to a number of important issues like disparities in healthcare and systemic racism. Also, the ramifications have been massive unemployment, growing food insecurity, and the lack of resources for students who are confined to their homes, particularly from underserved and urban public school systems. It is with that realization that on January 18th, our theme will be justice and the COVID-19 health crisis. We are partnering with Dr. Ayla Stanford and the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium. Ayla will be joining us shortly at the podium. I want to thank some of our great healthcare sponsors who are making this possible. Janssen Pharmaceutical Companies of Johnson & Johnson, Johnson & Johnson Consumer Inc., as always, the United Way of Greater Philadelphia and Southern New Jersey, also Independence Blue Cross, Children's Hospital, Gateway Health, and AmeriHealth Caritas, as well as the health departments of the City of Philadelphia and Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. The important information is that although this is a King Day like no other, we are expecting hundreds of projects, mostly virtual, and at this point it could be about 100,000 participants. But here at Girard College, where we normally have thousands of people, the Black Doctors Consortium will be leading COVID testing here from 9 a.m. to noon on January 18th, free COVID testing, focusing on serving vulnerable populations from underserved communities. And that testing will involve drive-through testing, people coming in vehicles, and also in testing near the entrance of Girard College. And I would just appeal to everyone, particularly the media, to get this word out because this will be an important opportunity for people in the community and we need them to know about it. And anyone can also learn about that at our website at mlkdayofservice.org. But as we know, and as I mentioned, the other ramifications, we will be doing other kinds of initiatives related to the health crisis. To address food insecurity, we will have food distribution locations around the city, led by Philabundance and other partners. To address unemployment and economic justice, the Urban League of Philadelphia, Community College of Philadelphia, and the Philadelphia Youth Network are partnering with us in a virtual career exploration expo. To confront issues of racial justice and disparities in healthcare, a virtual conversation will be taking place in the afternoon at 3 o'clock, and Dr. Stanford and other experts will be a part of that. And another ramification of this incredible pandemic is that the critical needs of young people are not being met in schools where resources are less available to folks in urban school districts. And we will be training reading captains to connect community members on the ground with a citywide movement for early literacy through our partnership in the Read by Fourth campaign. And as always, the Philadelphia Orchestra will be performing their 31st annual King Tribute concert, but that will be online at 7 p.m. on King evening. And all of this information can be found at mlkdayofservice.org. Now, for Global Citizen, I think we're thought of as being an organization in some respects that is really focused on the King Day of Service, which is true, but we are an organization that promotes year-round sustainable civic engagement. So you will hear a lot of people say, it's a nice thing and it's a good thing and it's important to embrace Dr. King's legacy of social justice and citizen action on King Day, but we have to be doing this work every day. I want to point out one just brief example of that in a partnership that Global Citizen has had ever since we started with the school district of Philadelphia and one of our sponsors, GoPuff. Each year we raise school supplies back in the fall, typically, for really underserved Philadelphia public schools students. But we're continuing that effort, given the pandemic, with a school supplies drive at Cayuga Elementary School, and that will take place through King Day. So I want to thank Liz Romaine from GoPuff, who I think is on the Zoom, and also Jason Carrion, the principal of Cayuga Elementary School. And with all of that, again, for more information to volunteer or to host projects, just go to mlkdayofservice.org. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Todd. And as we can see, there's a great deal of activity that are happening because service need not stop because of the pandemic. There are great ways for us to stay engaged and to be engaged, not just for King Day, but throughout the course of the year. So again, kudos to Todd and the city of Philadelphia, quite honestly, and the region for finding creative ways to provide service. Those service needs still need to be maintained and met. At this time, we're going to do a little bit of shifting in that, as Todd had mentioned in his remarks, about being able to work with sponsors and work with other organizations is always critical to the success of the King Day of Service. So at this time, we're going to switch over to Dr. Pierre Theodore, who is another co-chair of our MLK Day of Service. Dr. Theodore is the Vice President of Medical Affairs for Johnson & Johnson Global Public Health. And at this time, we're going to switch over to his remarks, and then we'll proceed from there. Dr. Theodore.
Thank you so very much. I hope you can hear me okay. And I just want to take a few moments to make some remarks on behalf of Johnson & Johnson today. We are long-time, very proud supporters of Global Citizens' work and its unique approach to social impact. I'm Pierre Theodore, as mentioned. I'm a surgeon and a Vice President of Medical Affairs on behalf of the 135,000 employees of J&J that are committed to the health and well-being of patients and healthcare providers alike. I first want to wish you all a very happy new year. And in this new year, there is so much to be done on many fronts, but there's also calls for some cautious optimism. And it's great to join you in this unusual manner and these unusual times, but no matter the circumstances that bring us together, we are, as you are, guided by Dr. King's call to service, as he put it, to make a career of humanity. The holiday in his name and the call to action of this past year provide us at J&J with an opportunity to join you as we collectively find ourselves at this critical juncture in equity and justice across so many domains of economics and politics and healthcare. And I'm honored to join my surgical colleague, Dr. Stanford, today. I was thinking this morning that long ago when I was a medical student at the University of Virginia, I was trying to choose a specialty. A very cherished mentor said, you should pick surgery because not only do you get to diagnose the problems, but through surgery, you can readily fix them and you can intervene. And so too does this moment call on us to move beyond mere analysis, beyond observation, and beyond diagnosis to start to initiate and amplify the actions just like those that are being advanced by Global Citizen that can drive equity and justice. We are coming off a very challenging period in 2020, and one that continues into 2021, and not only with respect to COVID-19, but additionally the historical legacy of racism and ethnic discrimination in this country. It placed an extraordinary burden on people of color in the United States, and this burden demanded all of our attention. At J&J, we have focused our attention on working hard to develop an investigational vaccine for COVID-19. And we're taking a community health partnership approach to drive healthcare equity that's been way too often overlooked. We're also very committed to addressing diversity in clinical trials, and not just for COVID-19, but across all of our clinical areas. Look, race and ethnicity matter. And it's important that the people who currently participate in clinical trials for new drugs and medical devices look like the population that will eventually benefit from the science. So increase of representation, we're partnering with academia, government, and community outreach programs to reduce the barriers in accessing clinical trials. And for example, we've just launched a new website, which I encourage you to go to. It's researchincludesme.com. It's a resource for communities to gain a better understanding of research and how to get involved. And finally, we're expanding programs through dedicated funding of the most promising ideas nationwide to address healthcare inequalities and improve access to culturally competent care, driven by community needs and fueled by community-based creativity. We are in this race to equity together. And we're looking forward to working with you, with our patients, with healthcare providers, our customers, our industry colleagues in this effort. We're going to be entering into a more promising 2021. I'd love to thank the Mayor of Philadelphia for joining us today and Global Citizen for your ongoing work and your partnership, which matters deeply to driving impact among those with the greatest needs. And once again, I wish you all and to all of your families a most happy and prosperous 2021.
Thank you very much, Dr. Theodore. And again, as Dr. Theodore said, we applaud and support certainly the work that Johnson & Johnson does, not only in supporting the King Day of Service, but during this time of pandemic, looking for the vaccinations and also being able to move move that technology forward toward a brighter 2021. So thank you again, Dr. Theodore. At this time, we're going to have some remarks by another one of our partners, Independence Blue Cross, Gregory E. Devins, who is President and CEO of IBC, and is also one of the co-chairs for one of our efforts here. So at this time, let us hear Mr. Devins' remarks.
On behalf of everyone at Independence Blue Cross, I'm proud to join Philadelphians and all Americans in honoring the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. This is the only federal holiday observed as a national day of service, a day on rather than a day off. Community service brings people together and shows what we can accomplish when we take responsibility for each other. At Independence, we have a long-standing record of service to the community. In fact, our Independence Blue Cross Foundation will mark its 10th anniversary this year of supporting community health, and our Blue Crew of employee volunteers will celebrate 20 years of serving organizations across Greater Philadelphia in 2021. The pandemic limited our in-person volunteer efforts in 2020, but our associates continued to virtually support nonprofit organizations throughout the region. Global Citizen shares our commitment to the community. We are proud to partner with them to support their critical work, and we salute them for focusing this year's volunteer effort on COVID-19 testing. The fight against COVID-19 has been led by our essential workers in many fields, especially healthcare providers on the front lines. Testing is a critical part of that fight. Independence has been focused on giving our members access to the testing and care they need while supporting the healthcare providers we work with. We are also committed to supporting the rollout of COVID-19 vaccines. Early reports of their effectiveness and safety are very encouraging. I'm personally looking forward to taking the vaccine when it's available. It will take time to vaccinate everyone. In the meantime, please continue to follow the advice of health professionals to minimize the spread of the virus. Wear a mask, practice social distancing, and washing your hands regularly. Beyond COVID-19, our community continues to reckon with the questions of social justice and equity that were raised in 2020. At Independence, we believe that everyone deserves the same fair opportunities and equal protection under the law across our society. We are participating in public-private partnerships that expand healthcare access, address chronic health conditions, the social determinants of health, and strive for health equity. Specifically, in 2020, we launched new initiatives with the City of Philadelphia, Project Home, and the Philadelphia Tribune, among others. Let me close by thanking everyone who volunteers their time in Dr. King's memory. This is a powerful demonstration of purpose, and it makes me proud to see it in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Devins, for both your leadership and for mobilizing the resources of Independence Blue Cross as one of our longtime partners, and particularly during this critical time of getting the information as well as the vaccinations as they become available. So thank you again for your continued partnership. At this time, we're going to ask Bill Golderer, who is the President and CEO of the United Way of Greater Philadelphia and Southern New Jersey, who's going to be joining us on the Zoom to offer his remarks as one of our ongoing and long-term partners in this effort around service. Bill?
Thank you for that opportunity, and thank you so much for the opportunity to join you. Sharing with the United Way team this morning how much I look forward to this opportunity and how aggrieved I am that we're not able to be together in person, but soon we will be. Soon we will be. Just to briefly remark that I want to thank Todd again and Global Citizen for their incredible tenacity and for their invitation to be of service that they issue to United Way, to everyone in our community, to dig deep for our neighbors. And so I'm grateful to Todd, and I'm grateful to all of you. Just to reflect for a minute, thinking back over the past year, I was honored to co-chair our region's relief fund. And it was staggering to see so much of an outpouring of need. And even more troubling was something that we already knew, was the deep disparity in the need that surfaced along racial lines especially. And yet, while we saw that disparity, we also saw so much determination and dedication to meet the moment, epitomized by Dr. Stanford and so many others. There was so much resilience and so much generosity when there was so much hardship. And so I guess as we face 2021, where some of us are feeling some cautious optimism, I guess I don't want to temper that, but I would like to say that there's nothing magical about turning a calendar page. The same opportunities and same challenges are there, and we at United Way, together with so many community partners and over 100,000 donors and community partners from every reach in the community, we're determined to meet those challenges. Channeling the spirit of Dr. King's speech on August 28th, 1963, then as now, we see the mountain of adversity that we must be determined to climb. We see the river of racial disparity we must be willing to cross. Then as now, we must be strong and convicted in the rightness of our cause. Then as now, we should be humble in recognizing that we stand on the shoulders of those who came before us and pointed us the way. We must be willing to make the sacrifices that are needed in order that our neighbors might find their own shade tree. And we must be confident that we're not alone. We're around so many people, 100,000 volunteers who are walking today with a vision in their heart for what could be. And we know that we are accompanied by a cloud of witnesses who surround us as we pursue the future. I'm hopeful and I'm determined, as I know you are. Thank you for letting United Way play a small role in a very important event.
Thank you very much, Bill, and thank you for your leadership and ongoing commitment of the United Way of Greater Philadelphia and Southern New Jersey. And as you had mentioned, those 100,000 plus volunteers and those folks who receive the services, these times in which we find ourselves, I love the notion of cautious optimism, but without their involvement, we would have no reason to be optimistic. So thank you again. I also, before introducing our next speaker, want to acknowledge Children's Hospital of Philadelphia as one of our partners and sponsors who has done a tremendous job, not just here locally, but nationally, in terms of the work that's being done in solving the crisis of the pandemic. And we want to make sure that all of our sponsors are not only acknowledged, but our demonstration of our appreciation for all that they continue to do, specifically during this time, but throughout the course of the year as we move forward. So at this time, I'm going to introduce one of my dear friends, and this is one of the things that I miss because we're just not physically together, but every year and now throughout the year, I get the opportunity to see and interact with Charmaine Matlock-Turner, who is the president and CEO of the Urban Affairs Coalition and a longtime partner of the MLK Day of Service. She has a tremendous spirit that continues to motivate us, and certainly during this time of pandemic, continues to provide the leadership that we as a community need to continue to meet the needs. So, my friend, Charmaine, please offer your remarks.
David, thank you so much. And I absolutely do miss you too. I mean, we've got to go out and play golf at some point, okay? You know, I only play when I play with you because I'm so bad. You're so kind. So I do really appreciate it. And it does remind us of times that have been fun and joyous. And certainly the MLK Day of Service, though it will be different, will still bring us some joy. I really want to thank all of the co-chairs, Dr. Stanford, Dr. Theodore, Greg Devins, congratulations on your new role and all of the great work that you've continued to do. My friend Bill Golderer and Heather Watlington at Girard College, thank you all for being a part of the MLK Day of Service. this year. First, of course, congratulations to Todd and Global Citizen MLK 365 team for your stellar leadership and work to make this day, King Day of Service, possible. I know the behind the scenes work has been very tough, but you have really stayed true to it. All the emails I received showed that that is absolutely true. UAC is a proud partner and excited to once again help out and kick off this important day of citizen action. I know Mayor Kinney is going to be bringing remarks, and we certainly do appreciate his support for the MLK Day of Service. I do want to thank him for last year recognizing me and UAC to receive the Harris Walford Award, and I look forward to the announcement for this year. As Dr. King said, like true north on the moral compass of life, offers us guidance in times of crisis. Once he said that life's most urgent question is, what are we doing for others? In the midst of this pandemic, an upended economy, grave racial injustice, and a divisive election, 2020 left the world feeling full of uncertainty and despair. Yesterday's election might have helped a little bit. Yet our communities bear the seeds of hope and a better world. Together, UAC and Global Citizens supported essential services to our most vulnerable communities, especially those disproportionately impacted by the virus. In 2021, we will not stop. That's why the focus of this year's King Day of Service on justice and the COVID-19 health crisis is particularly relevant. UAC will be present on January 18th, and I encourage all of you to join us and others virtually and at Girard College for this important day of service. Thanks to host Global Citizen, Girard College, and volunteers from the healthcare community, the site of this year's event will serve as a public drive-through and walk-in COVID-19 testing location. The testing will be geared towards people in underserved communities that have seen higher rates of the virus and have had less than open access to testing. This year, UAC is proud to host our project focused on justice and ending racism. We're excited to be partnering with many of the community in reference to this project and with strong leadership from Independence Blue Cross. Greg, again, thank you. Through guided questions and surveys, members of our community will be empowered by UAC to act as pod captains who will volunteer to facilitate conversations around ending racism with their pod or personal network. Please consider joining UAC's virtual project by visiting volunteer.globalcitizen365.org and search Urban Affairs Coalition, or join members of your pod in a safely distanced or virtual King Day of Service project in your own community. I remain hopeful, though this pandemic is not over. While the vaccine is one source of hope, I still believe that our greatest source of hope always is each and every one of you. I see hearts full of compassion blossoming in the worst of seasons. While COVID-19 continues to shape much of the work done by Global Citizen, UAC, and many other organizations, your wonderful spirits define how to fight for justice, health, and safety every single day. Let's continue to do what we do for others, knowing that it's up to us to make a healthy, hopeful, and healing 2021. Thank you, and thank you, Martin Luther King Jr.
Thank you very much, Charmaine, and it's so good to see you even as we're just on a Zoom. But thank you for UAC's continued support and involvement. We're going to do a little shift again, calling a little bit of an audible. But one of the things that Charmaine had mentioned about the Harris Walford Citizenship Award, I'm a proud recipient, and I recall a couple of years ago standing on this very podium along with Mayor Jim Kenney, who presented me with that prestigious award. And at this time, we're going to have his remarks to kind of set the tone as we acknowledge both the work and leadership that the city has done in navigating this crisis, but also their continued support of what we are trying to do as it relates to maintaining and sustaining the King legacy of service. So let's go to the mayor for remarks.
Thank you, Todd, and good morning, everyone. While I'm not with you in person today, I'm with you in spirit and send my appreciation for our city's annual King Day of Service. For the past 26 years, more than 2 million people of all ages and backgrounds throughout our region have honored Dr. King's life and legacy of social justice through citizen action. Thanks to Global Citizen for leading this national movement for the past 26 years and for continuing to promote year-round civic engagement among our diverse communities. Due to the current health crisis, this King Day of Service will be mostly virtual. However, Girard College will highlight this year's theme of justice in the COVID-19 health crisis by hosting free COVID testing, both drive-through and walk-in. This testing program will be led by the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium in partnership with other healthcare workers, institutions, and organizations. The City of Philadelphia will continue our support and involvement. Our health department, led by Dr. Tom Farley, will be virtually training volunteers to serve in our Medical Reserve Corps. These volunteers have been serving at COVID-19 testing sites in the city and will be involved in the continued rollout of our vaccine program. I want to thank the more than 40 King Day of Service sponsors, led by Johnson & Johnson, the United Way of Greater Philadelphia and Southern New Jersey, Independence Blue Cross, Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, and other great organizations and corporate citizens. As I said before, we must embrace Dr. King's legacy of social justice, civic engagement, and citizen action, not just on King Day, but every day. When we give back to our communities, our entire city benefits. I can't think of a more critical time in our city's history to give back than now. Thank you. As always, since I've been mayor, I've had the honor of presenting the annual King Day of Service Harris Wofford Active Citizenship Award. This year's recipient embodies what it means to embrace Dr. King's legacy of serving others with dedication and compassion each and every day. I'm pleased to present this 23rd annual award to a real hero, Dr. Ayla Stanford. When the coronavirus outbreak began last winter, Dr. Stanford, a pediatric surgeon, saw a critical need in the Black community and responded immediately. Mistrust of our healthcare system, particularly among Black people, has a long and painful history. While there has been much improvement in the healthcare system, equal access has been slow for too many. It was that history of mistrust that led Dr. Stanford to found the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium, whose mission is education and advocacy for African Americans to reduce the incidence of disease and death from coronavirus. At a time when COVID-19 has disproportionately impacted the Black community, particularly frontline workers, Dr. Stanford and her team of physicians, nurses, and medical workers have been going regularly to the heart of underserved communities, particularly to Black churches. Dr. Stanford and her team have garnered well-deserved national attention and praise for her tireless work. So on behalf of Global Citizen and the Greater Philadelphia King Day of Service, I am proud to announce that Dr. Ayla Stanford is recognized with the 23rd Annual Harris Wofford Active Citizenship Award. Todd, would you please present Dr. Stanford with this much-deserved award?
Okay, Todd. This was not expected at all. Wow. Morning. So that totally put me off every comment I was about to make. But I'm gonna share a small story. So I went to, well, first, thank you, Mayor Kenny. Thank you, Todd. I did not expect this at all. I'm simply a co-chair, and we're testing people for COVID, which is what we've been doing since April. So when I was in 5th through 8th grade, I went to Fittler Academic Plus School, which is like Germantown, North Philly area. And we used to have a Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King oratorical contest every year. So we were 10, 11, 12, reciting I Have a Dream every year. And I don't think I possess anything that has my name and the Reverend Dr. King's picture. And so that award is very meaningful to me. Because of him, I can stand here. Because of all he gave, the ultimate sacrifice, because he believed that the lives of Black people are important, that they should be treated fairly with equity, and that it was a grave injustice, particularly in healthcare. And so, to be a physician, to be a woman physician, to be a Black woman physician, I can honestly say would not have been possible without the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And so it was an honor to be asked to be a co-chair to participate, but even greater to receive that award. So thank you so very much. Completely unexpected, completely. So I'm excited, you know, King Day of Service, January 18th. I'm usually here every year with my sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. We were here last year, helping with the neonatal unit at Temple University, giving out gifts and cards to young mothers and children. And so this year is different. And so when Todd reached out and said, how could we do it differently? We really had to anticipate the weather and social distancing and still providing service, but keeping everyone safe. And we're obviously still in the middle of a pandemic. And so it only made sense that that's what we would focus on. And so I'm excited to be doing that with the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium and University of Pennsylvania physicians and Children's Hospital Philadelphia doctors and people from everywhere. And as I looked at all the sponsors on here, of course, nationally, Children's Hospital Philadelphia, Neural Arts, the Inquirer, the media has been phenomenal to us. It's because of all of you guys that CNN and BBC and NPR know who we are. So thank you for doing that. So, and WURD, I have written down. I guess, if I had to say something to the citizens of Philadelphia, I would say thank you for supporting us. You didn't know me, but what I wanted to impart, and I still want to, is that your health and your well-being matters to me. And I saw a need that you weren't getting. And after 23 years of being a physician, I was now in a place to bring it to you. And I realized that the hospitals were strapped, taking care of everyone and bureaucratic challenges, but as an independent private doc, we could do something about it. And we would not be successful if you hadn't put your trust in us. So it's a two-way street. And so on the 18th, we'll have as many heaters as we can to keep people as warm as we can. If you walk, if you're in your car, we'll be able to test you. And we'll be here. And I've said many times, we are here for you, the city of Philadelphia, as long as you need us. There is nothing else that matters. I love this city, and it just means more than you know to me, to receive this, to be a part of it, to be able to give back to a community that I love so much. So thank you.
My goodness, thank you, Dr. Stanford, for all you do. And I know those of you who could not see, when her name was called by Mayor Kinney, you can see her eyebrows over her mask go up. So that was, and as a former Harris Wofford recipient, I know how meaningful that award is. So no way we can thank you enough, but thank you once again. And looking forward to not only the 18th, but your continued work as we get through vaccinations and everything else in terms of the work yet ahead of us. So thank you very much for who you are and what you've been able to do. So we're going to go right back on track. At this time, we're going to ask, again, something that we seem to miss because we can't gather, but it's always a reaffirming time when we have the Cecil B. Moore Philadelphia Freedom Fighters joining us. So at this time, we want to ask our friend and colleague, Karen Asper Jordan, to offer her remarks. And following Karen's remarks, we will then close with Jane Golden from Mayoral Art. So, Karen, it's good to see you on the Zoom. Wish I could see you in person, but please give us your remark. Well, looks like you're muted, so you have to unmute yourself.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yep.
I want to say good morning to everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. And I thank Global Citizen for having us here every year. You know, Cecil B. Moore started the demonstrations at Girard College, and we were young people at that time, 16 years old. We believe that we could make a difference. Great people, whether it's Cecil B. Moore or Dr. King, they wanted to make a change, and they went about doing it. And because people believed in them and that passion that they had when they spoke, made people want to join. We're here at Girard College because of Cecil B. Moore and what he's done. He opened up many, many institutions for all people, especially Black folks. And it was the people, the families in Philadelphia, all over Philadelphia and other places, and especially the people in North Philadelphia, the gangs, the churches that kept the demonstrations going to get Black children into Girard College. It did not stop or start with Girard College. There were demonstrations to open up businesses, institutions for Black people to go to, institutions of learning. Black teachers could not teach anywhere they wanted to. They were not allowed to teach in certain places. A lot of our children, when teachers were put into our neighborhoods, we did not always get the best teachers. Many of us were lucky when we came in or started going to school because most of our teachers were Black. I did not have white teachers until, I think, junior high school. But a lot of our teachers were part of the NAACP, CORE, and other organizations. And we were brought up. I think that 60s was one of the best times that any of us could have been born in. That's what I feel. We support the young people that are out here now. And it's people like Cecil B. Moore, the people that followed him, are praising our young people for what they're doing now. We did it a different way. We were effective, and our young people are effective now. As far as COVID, many of us have lived a long time. We may not be able to be on the front lines, but we're there financially, we're there speaking, social engagement, online, encouraging. I thank Dr. Stanford and the consortium. You saw something that needed to be done, and you did it. And you didn't wait for anybody. And that's how a lot of organizations start. And that's how a lot of things are successful in this world, because people see a need. You don't wait for somebody to do it. You see a need and you try. Many of us have been on both sides of the healthcare industry. We've provided healthcare to others, and we've also been clients or consumers. We see both sides. For the organizations that are out there and these big conglomerates, they have to be monitored and checked for what they say. You know, it's easy to jump on a bandwagon, but they got to give up some of that power that they have. They got to put Black people on those boards. They got to put Black people in those meetings. And just because you have an education and you have a lot of titles, a lot of people have not lived the way the average man have lived. Now you have people that are hungry, that have never been hungry in their lives. They see the difference. So you know if somebody's hungry, we're starving. People talk about equality. We need it, but we also have to monitor the people that are at the top. Because people can talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. So people have to be, their feet have to be put to the fire about what they say they're going to do, and they have to give up some of that power. And I appreciate and I love all of you. And the freedom fighters saying is, we loved you before we knew you. We did not know where we would wind up. We believed that what we were doing was going to help somebody else. And what all of you have done is help somebody else. And I thank you.
Thank you so much, Karen. Again, one of the things that we miss is that usually when we're here all together, Karen and her legacy of the work that the freedom fighters have done, again, they said they loved you before they knew you. And that's something that resonates with a lot of our young people who may only know the story of Cecil B. Moore or the story of Dr. Martin Luther King, but that legacy is what continues to drive us and move us forward. So one of the other things as we get ready to conclude our program is that we typically have a wonderful unveiling with our partner, Mayoral Arts of Philadelphia, and the energetic and effervescent Jane Golden, whose energy you will be able to see even through the Zoom. So at this time, I'd like to introduce, again, another friend and colleague, Jane Golden. Would you please provide us with how we can close this wonderful program?
Oh, thank you so much. Hi, everyone. How are you? Oh, I'm sorry to be here on Zoom. This is breaking a tradition, Todd Bernstein. But I want to thank Todd. You're so tireless and global citizen. Thank you so much for inspiring all of us to hold firmly and passionately to the legacy of Dr. King. We feel honored to play a small role every year. And this year of all years, Dr. King's words are resonating with all of us in a very profound way. And Dr. Stanford, I just want you to know you're my hero. So thank you, and thank the consortium so much. We always say art saves lives and jump up and down, but really you are saving lives and you inspire us. And Karen, you know we love you. So thank you. So here we go. So Mural Arts and Global Citizen are proud to continue our longstanding partnership with Girard College on a new art project this year with the theme of justice and the COVID-19 health crisis to honor this special day, the Martin Luther King Day 2021. So this year, we asked student artists to use their talents and energy to help raise awareness of social distancing by creating a series of 5 new floor space pad designs. Now, do you all know what space pads are? We sort of invented this at Mural Arts. It's like public health meets public art meets lily pads. So, you know, in the beginning of COVID, you go into stores and they would have these dark, they'd have black lines on the floor and it was uninspiring. Well, artists can change all that. So we were literally able to employ hundreds of artists, and as of today have done like over 5,000 decals translated into 6 languages that have up-to-date, accurate public health messages. So that's what space pads are, invented here in Philly. Yay! So that's what we're unveiling today. So the student designed space pads will be installed around Girard's campus to help with distancing safely on Martin Luther King Day. And they will also be on the Global Citizen website, so people can see this beautiful work online. So everyone go online if you don't see them in person. And then they're going to be donated to locations around the city because they come in so useful. And they're also just a moment of inspiration, I have to say. So Girard College came through with wonderful design submissions. Thank you, Girard College, for everything you do. We always love working with you. And we're excited to announce the 5 student artist winners today. Okay, and it's so great because we want to make sure all our young people in the city have access to art education, and that is non-negotiable. I could just rise out of my chair right now as I say it. Okay. Oh, and as well as having their artwork featured on the space pads, the winning student artist will also receive a $100 Visa gift card and a keepsake of their design. So here we go. Drum roll. Da, 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 da. We have Callie Rogers, Danielle James, Janae Wright, Jessica Gandy Williams, and Tori Miller. Thank you, artists. And you can see their winning artwork at Girard College on Martin Luther King Day. And also remember to go online. And now we have some really good news as well. Artists Felix St. Ford and Gabe Tiberino will be bringing a new mural that will honor Cecil B. Moore, the Philadelphia freedom fighters, and they will be bringing this mural to Girard College this coming year. This is the perfect site for this mural. It is perfect. Karen, I want to thank you for inspiring us to do this. It is such an important piece. The artists are doing a brilliant job. And under the leadership of the indomitable Cecil B. Moore, teens and young adults successfully desegregated Girard College in 1965 and got into, as John Lewis famously calls it, good trouble. We're excited, Karen, to work with you and other members of the Cecil B. Moore Philadelphia Freedom Fighters to illustrate this extraordinary moment in Girard College's legacy, because we want to keep inspiring young people and, quite frankly, people everywhere to remember what happened, but to also remember the power of our voices. I want to thank the extraordinary project manager at Mural Arts, Corinne Wilson, for her tireless work on this project and for all the work she does. And I want to thank everyone at Mural Arts for doing their part to bring beauty and hope into this world in times of struggle and in times of triumph. And there's this great quote I want to end with by Rebecca Solnit. And she says, "Remember, together we are very powerful. We have a seldom told, seldom remembered history of victories and transformations that give us confidence that yes, we can change the world because we have many times before." And this mural of Cecil B. Moore and the freedom fighters will remind us of that every time we pass it. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you very much, Jane. And again, sometimes we start with that energy, now we get to end with that energy. So thank you very, very much. Again, for all folks who came out, all the folks who were on the Zoom, and all the folks who will be listening and plugging into this January 18th here at Girard College, come through with your COVID testing so we can make sure that we can continue to do the work that we're doing. And also, as was mentioned before, there are hundreds, thousands of projects that can be done safely during our King Day of Service, we will be able to continue that legacy. Find us on our website and just stay involved and get involved. Thank you very much.